my far left is Mr. K. Padmanabhan and to my right is Mr. Miraj Ahmed. So the first question is to you, Mr. Balsubrahmanyam. As they say, a great well-engineered workflow received to the background and puts the focus on the work. That mostly happens these days due to the input of technology, tech workflows. Do you see organizations really moving in this direction? At what level are they in achieving this goal?
Personally, I think people do not want to get involved in manual work anymore. People just want to see if something, any automation is possible, especially in terms of scanning documents or say naming a file. There is a document which has an information, then you got to name a file based on the information in the document. So this kind of work, for example, this is an example of training certificates. So there is an organization which collects training certificates, and then they want to name the training certificate according to some of the parameters inside the training certificate. So this is a very tedious work which, so the users come up and say, I don't want to do this. So here was an example where we had to come up with a software which sort of, but first thing was to have an OCR on the scan document, so which was missing. So definitely because of this push where people do not want to manually do things, and people's minds are already open. They are saying, is there a way technologically to solve this problem? So the users are coming up with it. So definitely, I would not say that our companies are fully automated or we are really moving toward, but there is an expectation, and then there is a pressure on ICT to deliver those automations which the people want. So definitely, the answer is we are not there yet, but definitely there is an expectation.
Do you see what kind of pressure do you see in organizations? People are caught between I am implementing a tech workflow, I want everything to happen at one go. What kind of pressure do you see?
Yeah, in implementing such workflows of information, we see security as very important because there are a lot of information such as financial or HR which are very confidential in nature. So by increase of voluminous information, it will become more difficult to have the security in place. So by digitization, we can achieve this. That is the way organizations want to go at reducing so that the cost of printing so much of information also, you can save the cost. So this way, security can be enforced by proper digitization and keeping them in place.
In the workflow, what is flowing is information. And as you rightly said, Mr. Balsubrahmanyam, is that when we're using an OCR, once that information becomes searchable and accessible to a wider audience when needed, that is when it actually starts becoming really effective in getting work done. So that I think is something which is a very key ask from from a workflow perspective, which has to be addressed, and we are happy that it can be addressed as part of the solution. And Mr. Padmanabhan, you spoke about security, which is very clearly the fact that information is flowing, whether it is information which is flowing digitally or it is information which is flowing as a paper, which is getting printed as a paper. The important thing here is that information needs to be secure. And how we go about doing that is very clearly using automation. There are 3 steps by which it can be done. One is very clearly authorizing a set of users. That which set of users are authorized to do what? Right? Who's authorized to do what in terms of printing, scanning, in terms of the various functions of imaging and printing. The second thing is our ability to authenticate. Right? To give you an example, rather than print a document straight away, right? What is recommended, and which is part of part of our part of this workflow transformation and the MFPs that that we are discussing, is that it does not print immediately. You have to walk up to the printer, right, and authenticate yourself in terms of either in a very simple way, using a PIN number which you have to enter onto the printer, or it could be in terms of using a proximity badge, right? So we have all our smart card enabled badges, ID badges, or it could be even a biometric device, right? So it could be a fingerprint. It could be multiple ways by which you have to authenticate yourself. What does it do? It leads to the fact that documents which are printed are all picked up, so that information does not get compromised. Point number one. And point number two, it also ensures that documents which are printed and not picked up have a cost associated with it. So there are some statistics by some analysts which say that almost 20 to 25% documents which are printed don't get picked up, right? So it is a wastage of paper, it is a wastage of ink, and more importantly, right, it is that one single page which falls into the wrong hand, wrong information, which needs to be needs to be prevented. So very clearly, authorizing, authenticating, and by using some of these technologies, one can also audit. For instance, if I'm using my proximity badge, it tells the organization which group does the employee belong to, right? So that it can be charged correctly to that right center. So as a combination of all three, technologies are available which can ensure that printing is done securely, right? Data is not compromised either in terms of a digital data, or in terms of a print, or it is in terms of encryption of the hard disk, or encryption of the network on which data is flowing, right? And it can be secured absolutely in a foolproof and complete manner. So we are confident that that is a very key aspect which needs to be addressed, and it has to be addressed correctly.
Mr. Balasubramaniam, I would like to ask you, from your experience of implementing workflows in cycle, what are the red flags that a company must recognize early in the day, so that that those red flags do not become a bigger problem and scuttle the entire workflow project? What do you think of those?
First of all, when you are implementing a workflow solution, the technology itself is a red flag, because first of all, you discover that the printer doesn't do so many things which you want it to do. So it's the first time we have come up with products from HP which is well designed to do these workflows. Like it does OCR, enabling OCR, and ability to edit those pages and arrange those pages right on the computer, on the printer itself. So these are all things, well thought out solutions. But the technology, if it is not correct, it will scuttle the process. So you tell HR guy, okay, now I got you the scanner, you do it. But probably he's doing it in a long-winded way, and you need more labor. And so this makes it slower, and then there's a demand that can I have a faster scanner. This scanner is too slow. And then there are other departments like finance who have tons of invoices and stored in a room, and they so far not thought of scanning it. Now they want to scan it. So the red flags are definitely the process itself and the technology.
What Mr. Ahmad demonstrated or talked about in his talk about the scriptable commands that you can use in one of your products, Viraj.
That's right.
Those kind of solutions, those kind of products perhaps makes usage of technology far easier. Now, do you see, Mr. Padmanabhan, organizations getting overwhelmed by technology sometimes? Now, how can they simplify it?
Yeah, sure it does. In fact, due to this explosion of information, as rightly pointed out, there is a lot of clutter lying around. There is a problem of life cycle, managing the information. A lot of information, what you need may not be available. So the proper scanning and indexing, whichever is you need, you have to be able to locate it and use it. So that way this life cycle management is very important. Your information As long as it is useful only, you should have in the system. So a lot of decluttering has to be done. So I think your system will be able to help you remove the unnecessary things so that people will locate the necessary things in time, and that will be more useful to also. It will save a lot of cost because a lot of space is being taken up by unnecessarily keeping a lot of information.
That's actually well said. You know, basically what you are saying is, it's not just the technology. You've got to match technology with the kind of data that you are handling.
Yes.
So you can't expect everything, you know, from technology. You've got to see, audit your entire information flow in your organization and adapt technology to it. Mr. Ahmed, I would like to bring up this question of cost. That's perhaps on most people's mind out here.
That's right.
You know, there is a cost of ownership. There is a cost of running. There is a cost of efficiency. But I would like to talk about the cost of efficiency more. From your experience, you know, both Indian scenario and the global, how are companies looking at adopting non-optimized workflows? You know, workflows they will live with, probably just to justify the cost they have already sunk in. So, what's your experience in that?
So I think clearly, you know, when we look at the cost, right, of the workflow, the cost of the hardware, the consumables, and you know, the associated costs are, you know, as you very clearly, you know, clearly know, it's a fraction of the real cost which is lying within it. And that cost actually is around two areas, right? One is around efficient use of technology, right? So, you know, one of the very obvious, one of the obvious ways by which we can look at reducing cost here is that a lot of the intelligence which is required can be done by technology. Technology does have its limitations, and it also has its strengths to ensure that automation and technology eliminates waste in terms of man-hour of resources, right, or in terms of reducing inefficiency. That is one. The second thing is around, you know, when we look at the cost, one of the aspects which I think a lot of organizations today are looking at is that you move from the first stage, which is around optimization, right? You optimize your hardware, choose the right hardware, software combination, right, which is the first stage. You optimize. The second stage you move towards is how do you make that entire thing more efficient from a running cost, and how do you bring in efficiency. But the most critical part, which actually comes in terms of the cost, and I'm extending that to the purpose of an organization is that how can this entire imaging and printing infrastructure lead to productivity? Because productivity is, I think, whether it is as internally, whether they are our customers, right, internal customers, or whether they are our external customers, right? How do we ensure that we are able to achieve our ultimate goal of that organization by making our people more productive, right? And hence, the cost always has to be looked at in the perspective of optimizing in the first place, which is around the hardware, software, etc. The second part is around the efficiency, looking at the complete workflow, which is where almost like 90% of the cost resides, right? The cost of the security breach, the cost of non-availability, right? If the infrastructure is down and it is not available, what is the cost associated with that? So if you look at all these factors together, right, then you actually come up with the actual cost of running a workflow or in managing an infrastructure. And most importantly, what does it lead to? Does it lead to better productivity? Does it lead to better business outcomes? Does it lead to, for instance, in a small work group, does it lead to better information flow between work groups, between diverse groups of an organization, between diverse teams within a group, right? Those are the factors which I believe, when you look at them in totality, is how one needs to look at the total cost.
Workflow should be about better information flow. An organization should design, plan their workflow to ensure that there is better information flow. Right, Mr. Balsam?
Yes.
Do you think that is actually happening, or is it focus more on the TCO and stuff like that, and we forget the code value?
Some organizations are having automated processes. For example, how is the engineering company with stress on producing documents which are related to the project, which could be and various disciplines have to interact with each other and give comments on each other's designs, so that there is a proper non-interference of the pipe with the tray and the tray with the structure and all this kind of thing. And so the comments of so this interface between disciplines is now carried on by printing. People are not really redlining. Redlining is a technology. There are products available. Adobe is one of them. There are other products as well. Of course, it comes at a cost. You go to that technology supplier, it will cost you so many lakhs of rupees to buy that software which will redline, and then you to change your process from taking a print and writing with a pen, and rather than that you should see it on the computer itself and do redlining. So these are things some organizations have implemented, some organizations like my organization has not implemented. So it's a question of getting used to these new technology, new ways of working. But whether it is leading to more productivity, that is a moot point.
Have you seen this kind of implementation where people move gradually to a full-fledged solution? They may start small and they expand into a full-fledged solution. What's your opinion?
So in fact, the beauty of this entire thing is that, one, it has to be skilled, right? It has to start with that. You can start with that first step, and it should be able to scale to the requirements of the organization, right? So it should be, you can stack it up, right? Build up. And if I may just, extend this logic, so there are some organizations which have large complex workflows, right? They have got large IT infrastructures, right? And a lot of resources which are there. But there are many organizations which don't have that, right? There are many, medium enterprises also who are operating and who don't really have that kind of infrastructure. So a couple of things, which is the lodestone when you need to design a product is one that first, is it going to make a difference, right? Will it change the outcomes of an organization, even if it is a smaller organization, by adopting technology, right? We believe it is truly possible, right? So it can have a business outcome changing, result changing, impact. The second thing is it should be affordable, right? In the first place, you have to be able to acquire the technology, start using it, and then the third thing is it has to grow as your needs grow. So it has to be all three for it to be effective. And we truly believe that is what we are achieving with our products.
That's wonderful that you talked about simple and complex workflows. I have a question to Mr. Bajram. From a security point of view, there is a myth, or you should tell me whether it is really a myth, that simple workflows are far more easily securable than a complex workflow. What do you think?
Well, as you rightly pointed out, it's a myth. Simple workflows are easily securable and all that. In fact, wherever there is a technology, always there is a resistance for change. Even you take some 20 years, 25 years back, when banks were doing manually, there was a lot of resistance for technology, thinking that, no, it is not safe, there is no security, we don't know what is inside and all that. But now no bank can run without their technology. Nobody can think of having a manual ledger nowadays. And you have what else? Internet banking, you can do whatever business with your mobile. All these things have come up. So the advanced technology will have more focus on security. So that way it is really a myth that the normal simple workflows will have more security than one level.
So you have technological workflows all around. You have computers, laptops, and suddenly something came in the shape of smartphones and tablets and stuff like that. How did it change the game in terms of work?
So far it has not changed the game, because if you are going to scan documents, you still can't open it on the BlackBerry, it's too slow. You can probably open on the iPad, even then it's not so fast. So there are limitations to this technology. You cannot open large files. So it does not really change the game. So people may look at these things in their desktop and laptop, and they may not look at attachments when they are outside. They may just look at the email messages. Unless it is really important, they will not take the effort to. Because you are in a 2G network, then you are in a 3G network, and it takes time to download. All these limitations are there. So, and then okay, a Wi-Fi can be another enabler. You have Wi-Fi, you can operate from the laptop, and you can fire a print. You can go to the projector. So, I don't see the impact yet.
Niraj, do you see MFPs fitting well in this whole universe? You have cloud at one end, you have all these devices, you have Wi-Fi at the other. How would MFPs fit in all these things?
So very interestingly, one is that mobility is there to stay, right? So it's something which we access information using our mobile devices, and we are doing it increasingly, right? So there is a limitation, right? As Naval just said, that there is a limitation in terms of very large file sizes in case of engineering, files or something, which is there. But if you look at the general search for information, access to information on mobile devices is reality. Now let me look at it conversely. That if you are accessing information on a mobile device, and as we just discussed that with digital content increasing, there is also a desire and a need to print from a mobile device. So one of the common needs of customers today that we are seeing, and we are building all our products towards that, enabling our features right from high-end products like MFPs and even down to very entry-level products starting at 7,000 rupees. Is we recognize the fact that people want to print directly from their mobile device, whether it is their smartphone, whether it is a tablet, or it's a or a notebook or any other device, and they want to do it wirelessly. Nobody wants to have the hassle of actually connecting a device so that it's now passive, gone. So the way we enable that is in two ways, right? In the proximity of the device, all the MFPs and a lot of our products are practically a huge range of our products supports wireless printing, and there are apps available for the most popular platforms, Android for instance, and then we have for Windows as well as for Apple, which is what we call AirPrint for Apple, which is embedded as part of the operating system, which allows you to print a photograph, a document, or a web page directly from your mobile device. That is one. Extending that to the next level is what in case you need to print a document not in the proximity of the printer. You want to print it in a very far off location. I'm sitting in Chennai, I want to print a document in Delhi. Somebody needs a document and I have it and I want to print that, right? Is it possible? Either from my laptop or from my mobile device. So the technology which allows that to happen is and we are the pioneers in the area of both wireless printing, and the technology which we use is called e-print. So the device, the MFP or the printer has got a unique email ID, and on that email ID, all you need to do is from any device which can send a mail. It can be a laptop or a mobile or or any device which can send a mail. Through e-print, it goes as a print command to that printer and prints. That's one. And not stopping there for an individual user, we have actually we have an enterprise version of that, which instead of actually going to a particular printer, it goes to a e-print server, right? And it gives you the flexibility to print to a host of devices, complete range of all the printers, whether they are old, new, any printer on that network, right, through that print server, the e-print server, it can print on any device. So from a productivity perspective, it means that you are able to do exactly what a mobile device is expecting you to do. Being able to access information in real time, and being able to print and use that information exactly where you need it, when you need it, and how you need it.
Viraj talked about a 20% wastage of printed matter. People take printouts, but they don't. They fail to pick it up. I would just like to, ask you first, Padmanabhan, what's it, from your experience, what have you found there? Is it true that it is 20% or is it more or less?
It is even more, I think. If you are 25% or more.
Mr. Balasubramanian?
Absolutely. Every day you find plenty of mistakes. Because people generally give a print and they forget about the print. Then later on, when they go a bit delayed, the print is taken by somebody else. So they print again.
I would like to, ask the audience to raise their hands if they agree with this. If they have also seen this phenomena of 20% and more. I have seen. So yeah,
Pretty much goes a majority.
yeah, I think that's one of the biggest thing. If at all we implement a good technological workflow
And very easily implemented.
very easily.
Very easily. Right, either in terms of the PIN number or in terms of having using a proximity badge, right, or even using a biometric device. And in fact, for the enterprise, we can take this to the next level, right, which is what we call full printing. So when you print, it does not go to a printer; it goes to a print server, and then you can walk across. You might have given a printout on the first floor, and you need it for a meeting on the third floor. Go to the printer which is closest to that meeting room, just either put your PIN number or put your badge, collect your printer, and walk in. Yeah.
The only drawback is if somebody else is going to collect the print.
For you. Yes, that can always be. But if you are in the proximity, obviously it is somebody, either you have done it or somebody you have authorized somebody to do that.
We will close the panel out here. I would like to thank Mr. Padmanabhan and Mr. Balasubramanian and Viraj for having this lively discussion today. I hope you all enjoyed.